Hey, what's up everyone? Welcome back. Happy Tuesday evening. We've already got a bunch of people here. Oh my gosh, this is so cool. Thank you guys for coming. Oh man, it's good to see you guys. So yeah, had a fun weekend. I'm sure a lot of you want to hear some of the stories and whatever. So here to talk to you guys all about it. Remember, this is you guys' show, so you guys ask the questions. You guys take the show where you want it to go. So yeah, that's that. We already got a bunch of people here, but I'm gonna roll the little intro and let a few more people show up. So thank you guys for coming. While this is playing, put your location, like where you're watching from, in the chat, and then we can like see where everyone is. So let's do this. All right, welcome back. Okay, so what's up, Mandy? Happy Tuesday evening, everyone. Matt Roberts is here in the house. Glad to be back, Ryan. Congrats on the 50 over the weekend. Just love the recap video. Thank you so much. That's awesome. Miguel, welcome back. Happy Tuesday. Drew is here. Awesome job on the 50, Ryan. Thank you so much, Drew. Joel Walters, hi from Seattle. Awesome. Mandy's here. 50 rounds of applause. Awesome. And she's coming from Madison, Wisconsin. Awesome. Richard Gleave here. Madison, Wisconsin also. Good evening from a Brit in Texas. Awesome. Platts 33 is here from Illinois. Love the 50-mile video. Thank you so much. Ronald Winkler, what's up? Thank you so much, Ronald. Chase the Summit. Dave Dylan is here. I shall watch this while I edit. Congrats, dude. Awesome. Thanks. If you guys haven't seen, if you haven't been to Chase the Summit's YouTube channel, go check him out. Click on that little icon of his. Go subscribe. Hi, T from Raleigh, North Carolina. St. Michael Hikes is in Florida. What's up? Inspirational 50-mile recap. Thank you so much. Drew is from Canton, Michigan. Awesome. Tyler, Colorado Springs. Miguel's in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Awesome. Yo, Eric the Red. How's it going? Marcel's here. What's up? Hello, Ryan. Great job on the 50. Thank you so much. Danny Pimenta is here from Germantown, MD, Maryland. I don't know. Some of those states. I don't know. No, I should know all of them. Oh my gosh, great. Well, this is live. Oh man, awesome. Missouri here. Nice 50-miler run and video. Thank you so much. Miguel is here from Dallas, Texas. Liam, what's up, man? Thank you. All right, so drop your questions in the chat. But yeah, so if you if YouTube recommended this live stream to you and you have no idea why you're here, my name is Ryan Clayton. I do a lot of like ultra marathons and ultra running, stuff like that. I do like film stuff too, audio production. But over the weekend, I decided, well, a long time ago, I decided to do my own sort of self-supported 50-mile race because everything's been canceled this year. So I've got a 100-miler coming up that I don't know if I've actually put on YouTube yet. I don't know if you guys have seen, but I actually did get the invite email. I don't think I've posted this video yet. I'm in the middle of editing it. So yeah, I did get the invite email to No Business 100. So I will be there October 16th. I will be running 100 miles in an actual race. So that is super, super cool. I got the email, I think it was like overnight, and it was yesterday morning that I saw it. So yeah, it's official. I'm on the start line. I'm on the starting list. I'll hopefully make it to the start line as long as I stay healthy, no injuries, no sicknesses, none of that. We don't want any of that. But yeah, be running an actual 100-mile race this year, which didn't think was going to happen, for the last couple of months, honestly. But yeah, in preparation for that, because I knew I was going to do some sort of 100-miler somewhere in October, whether it was in an actual race or my own. Sorry, I need to turn off notifications on my watch. But over the weekend, I ran a self-supported 50-miler. I went out to this state park that's really close to my house. Had a lot of different kind of plans that I was throwing around, but I was like, you know what? I just want to be close to my house. So in case something bad happened or like my wife had to come get me or whatever. I also have a lot of experience at this state park. Like I go running out here all the time. It's got a 10-mile loop, which is perfect. Coming back to the car, using the car as aid stations. So over the weekend I did it, I finished it. And yeah, we'll go through all of it here. So yeah, let's see. Oh, we got a couple questions. Lots of questions. Matt Roberts, what's up? Can you tell us where we can find info about the last Ultra uses and which shoe is based on which last? I don't know if that's actually posted anywhere. If you have questions, I can answer them. Most of the new ones are either on like their original last or their performance last. The differences, they're kind of like, they're small differences, but they make a big difference in how they feel. But I don't think that information is actually posted, like in an organized fashion. But when you get your Ultra shoes, you can pull out the insert, and on the bottom of the insert, it has a little PF, which for PL, I think for performance last, or PF maybe for performance, something like that. But it's coded on the bottom of there. Yeah, there's a couple different ones, but I don't think it's actually posted anywhere. What's up, Terry Joe, here from Saginaw, Michigan. Welcome, Labe. Congrats on your 50. Thank you so much. Michael Brandhorst is here. Congratulations on your well-earned 50 mile. Those solo runs can be brutal. To Yeah. So the reason why I wanted to do it by myself solo is because I didn't want to like involve a whole lot of other people in case, just for like COVID reasons, honestly, but also just kind of like was interested in seeing, just kind of like there was a curious side of me to see like what it would be like just to go out there and do it by yourself, like completely on your own. And I learned a whole lot about some of the, like one of the things that was like most eye-opening is that a lot of these races, like if you do if you do an ultra event, your body can take way more than you think it can. Your body can do way more than you think it can do. The ultimate limiter is usually your mind, unless you get some sort of injury or something. At least that's been my experience, and that's what a lot of people talk about. But that was just like, there was no denying it in this event. I guess you could call it an event. It was so eye-opening because I got like just so kind of like down, like right around like from about 30 to maybe 40 miles, like that, the fourth loop was just like really, really hard mentally because I had been out there for so long already. like 6, 7, 8 hours. It was getting close to 9 hours by the time I finished, by the time I got to like 42 miles and got back to the Jeep. And number one, I was missing my family like crazy. And that was, I don't know, like, like with this whole season of quarantine and everything, like we've been just together like constantly. And I mean, my kids are in school now, but they, oh my gosh, what is going on, guys? Sorry. I don't know. Something, maybe a loose cable or something. Sorry about that. But the thing I just missed my family so much, and my kids are in school, but there's been a lot of like stay at home days and e-learning days and everything. So it's, we've just like gotten like really close as a family, and it's just been like being out there that long by myself, like just kind of like serving my own interests, like all alone. Like it was just like, that's what I was thinking about, was just missing my family. There was a lot of stuff where I was like, man, I could be getting this done instead of running. I could be doing whatever. And so like mentally, it really became like a mental battle more than anything to just keep going, because there was no one around me. Like, I mean, honestly, there was all you guys there with me was the biggest thing. And I was going to get to that, but like, there was no one around. Like, had I been just on my own and out there, not like announced it, not told anybody about it, I could have just like walked away and not a soul would have known. And that was just like, that was like heavy on my mind, because it was just like, I can stop whenever I want. Like, no one's around. No one's going to be like, oh, you were close. You should have just kept going. But in the back of my head, like I had, put this out on YouTube. Like I called my shot, and like, I was like, I have to finish this because I called my shot. Like I need to, it's like, that is what kept pulling me, towards that 50 miles. Because there was like nothing else. Zero motivation other than really you guys, who I knew were interested to see what was going to happen. And then just kind of just pushing forward. Like, it was a really, really weird experience, but kind of circling back to what I said was that a lot of times your mind is the biggest limiter. So I think that's why a lot of people really succeed when they have like a really good crew, really good pacers, when they go to a race where the volunteers are really good. Like you can really, like you can ride on that emotion. And if you surround yourself with people that are positive and people that can encourage you and kind of help you along, I mean, it can do wonders for your finish. If you're, shooting for ultra, if you're shooting for a marathon, if you're whatever you're doing, I mean, just surrounding yourself with good people can really, really make a huge difference. So, yeah, Mandy, congrats on the invite. You'll be 100% prepared. I hope so. Thanks. Marisol says, "Oh, cool, you got in. Woohoo! Yes." Let's see here. I'm scrolling back up, see if we've got questions. I'm sure we do. Yep. Joel says, which part of the 50 miler was the hardest and why? Yeah, I think I answered your question kind of without even reading it. It was definitely the mental side. Like the physical side was obvious. Okay, obviously that's hard, but like, that is going to be hard going into it. The thing that you don't always prepare for is the mental side, because, walking into it, like either you're like, maybe you're just like not giving the distance and the time enough credit for what it's like, how much it's going to take out of you. And that's why I tell like everyone that all my athletes that I coach and like anybody that asks for advice, like if you're thinking about getting into ultras, like some of the most important workouts you can do are those time on your feet workouts where you're not running hard. You're just out there for like 8 hours, because you don't know what it feels like to be out there for 8 hours until you've been out there for 8 hours. And it's just like, it messes with your mind so much. But yeah, the mental side was the hardest part. Let's see. Mandy says, I'm more wired for ultra running, but how do you take that skill and turn it into speed for shorter distances like a half marathon? Yeah, I mean, you just gotta you just gotta work on what you want to like the type of race. Like there's tons like half marathon plans. Like you can just look at kind of the differences between what like a half marathon training plan looks like versus like a typical like 100-mile training plan. Like your half marathon training plan, you're training a lot more in like that VO2 max, like your Z4, Z3. I mean, you're not doing all of that. You're still doing a lot of like low intensity work, but your prep and your focus as you get closer and closer to your race has to do with like those longer efforts in Z3 and Z4. Because most people that, half marathon, you're going to be out there for a short enough time that you can run in those zones the whole time. So that's going to be the main difference. You're going to stack that towards the end as you get closer to the race. Training for an ultra, you want to stay kind of away from that the closer you get to your race because it's not beneficial. You're not going to be, again, unless you're a professional, like unless you're Jim Walmsley, who's like literally like sprinting up hills at Hard Rock. You don't need to train your Z4 heart rate zone when you get close to a 100-miler. Like you really need to focus on time on your feet, preparing mentally, training your gut, stuff like that. So it's kind of like the training kind of flips when you're training for shorter events. Let's see. Will W says, how did the Coros Vertex work out for you on the 50? I know you had concerns with wrist heart rate in the past. Yeah. The heart rate data, we can actually look at it real quick. I'll pull it up on the screen so you guys can see it too. So this is Training Peaks. Whoa, what was that? Something just happened. A new subscriber. Welcome, Arthur Zapata. Thank you so much for subscribing. Okay. So this is the course. As you can see, it's pretty flat. There's not a whole lot of vertical here. As we scroll down into here, we've got the chart, and let's hide everything except for heart rate, and then we'll show just zones. So as you can see, I stayed in heart rate zone 1 literally the entire time, except for this one section right here. And what was that? That was like my last lap. Oh yeah. So that was my last lap. As I'm kind of rounding this figure 8 sort of thing. And this was like a road section, like right here, like a 1/4 mile road section. So I dipped into zone 2 for the road section. But again, like, I don't know honestly how absolute these numbers are because I was using the Coros wrist-based heart rate. So it was probably pretty close. Like I was keeping it super, super chill like the whole time. So that was my heart rate data right there. Let's see what other questions we have. But as far as the Coros Vertex, I was really impressed with it. Like it did like a good job. When I finished, I started with 100% battery. I had 79% battery at the end. So pretty good battery life. That was 11 and a half hours. So I know you can't like just multiply that by 5 to figure out what the actual battery life is going to be, but easily be able to finish. Anybody can use a Coros Vertex and finish 100 with it if you start with 100% battery. Yeah, that was no problem. As far as like everything else, it seemed to be working fine. I kind of looked at the power data, but I wasn't using my stride pod, so it was just the Coros wrist-based power. So I wasn't really like paying attention to it. Most of it, I did basically the whole race. I just focused for the first like 20 to 25 miles. I focused on just trying to keep my running pace in between like the 10 and 12 minutes per mile. And like I was kind of watching my overall pace too, because I knew that like you kind of know, like a 12, if you do it like a 12-minute overall pace, that would be a 10-hour 50 miler. If you do like 11, I'd figured out like if it's closer to 11, it's going to be this. If it's 12, if it's 13, it's going to be like a little bit over, close to like 11 hours, something like that. So I knew based off my overall pace, because I had that field on the front screen, I kind of always knew like what my finish time was going to be. And as I got closer to the end, it became like more and more clear exactly what it was going to be. But my running pace, every time I was running, I tried to keep it kind of in between 10 and 12 minutes per mile. So like super chill, like not pushing at all. Anytime like I said on my last live stream, anytime I felt like I was going too hard, I knew for a fact I was going too hard. Like, I mean, that's just the saying. If you feel like you're going too hard, you are. So I just made sure that I was just kind of watching that pace. That's really all I was watching. I was watching my heart rate, and I was paying attention, like if it bumped into zone 2 or if it bumped into zone 3, like I know I was making some sort of mistake with whatever I was doing, because there's no climbs on this course. It's like pancake, like there's ups and downs on the trail, but nothing even, I mean, the biggest climb was probably like 20 feet. So, I mean, it's pancake flat out there. So that's what I was watching on the Vertex, but yeah, it did really well. Miguel says, "Hey Ryan, do you have any diet restrictions? Would love to hear how you plan your weekly go-to meals." Yeah, so I am like probably 98% plant-based. I do eat some cheese. That's the only thing though. Everything else, like it's all plant-based. I've been doing that for 7 or 8 years or something. Feel great. I don't have any specific restrictions. I don't limit calories. I don't count calories. I probably could eat less. But I don't have any restrictions. I don't do anything crazy. Like I do make sure that I focus on, like, especially after the race, I was really eating a lot of like leafy greens, things like that for recovery. Yeah, I mean, I really don't pay attention to, how much I'm eating. I just eat, pretty much plant-based, and it works out. So kind of I don't know how good that answer is, but I mean, I don't know if you guys were expecting like some super strict or whatever, but nope, it's not. It's just is what it is. Miguel Pereira says, question about the upcoming 100-miler. What changes are you preparing for in terms of support and logistics because of COVID versus previous races? Now that is a good question. So I watched a live stream that the race director did about 2 weeks ago, and it's going to look very different, as all the races have this year that have actually gone on. So the start line is going to be like something like no one's ever seen before. At least I've never seen a start line like this. The start line for the No Business 100 is at this big park, and everyone's going to park in a field. And the start time for the elites is 10 a.m. and then everyone else is 11. And the elites is like Carl Meltzer is in this race. And I don't know, there's like a handful, I think like 15 or 20 that have signed up for the elite to start early. So everyone else is going to start around 11. And what they're going to do is when you pull in, they're going to park you and you have to stay in your car. And then when it's time to start, they're just going to start, like the person that pulled in first is going to go first. and then the next person, and the next person, and the next person. So they said to like this, it's going to be rolling starting at 11, and they're going to start people for 2 hours. So if you want to start early, you show up early. If you want to start later, you show up later, which is like, I don't know how this is going to go. I don't know. Like, I hope I don't have to get there and like sit in my car for like 2 hours. But I don't know. Like, I kind of have a feeling that a lot of people are going to show up early, because they want to get it done. They want to start early to get it done. Cutoff times are going to be all based off of your chip time somehow. I don't know if they're going to actually have timing mats at all of the cutoff, or if it's just going to be based off of the last person that started. So like the noon or the 1 o'clock start time. I don't really know. The other interesting thing is that this race, it's a one single loop, which is awesome. I've never done a race that's just one single loop. I've done an out and back, and then that was Grindstone, and then Run Rabbit Run was kind of like all over the place through the mountains. It had a couple loops, and then I think it was just a couple loops pretty much. Then like Kettle was like a loop and an out and back. Mohican was 4 loops. Woodstock was like 6 loops. So like all the races that I've actually done have been either loops or an out and back. I've never done just a point to point, and I've never done one that's just one big loop. So very excited about this, because it's going to be new and it's going to be fun. But I believe that, what's going to happen is all of the cutoff times are going to be based off of that last person that started. So I don't know, like I'm talking to my friend Russell, who's also got into this race, and we're trying to kind of like figure out logistics of all of that. And I don't know, I'll probably try and get there like sort of towards the beginning, just because like I see some advantages of starting towards the beginning, even if you get passed by a bunch of people. The aid stations are going to be slightly better stocked. Maybe, hopefully. And then if it rains or if it's really bad weather, the trails like might be in a better condition for the people in the front half of the race. Like if it's spread out that far, I don't know. It might not even really matter, but yeah, I don't know. So that's how it's going to start. And then as far as Miguel, your question, what other changes am I preparing for? I'm preparing for really, in my head, the aid station's not really offering a whole lot of what I will want. I'm just trying to prepare myself for that, like to not expect to show up to an aid station, because they're not going to have like soup or lasagna or like they're not going to be making sandwiches. They're not going to be like none of that food made or cooked at the aid station is going to be there. From what I've heard, it's all going to be prepackaged, and it's going to be like the volunteers will put your food or whatever you request in a baggie, and then you go. And from what I understand, there's going to be like a small section of chairs for people that can sit if they want to, but everyone else is going to have to just kind of go, like get your bag and go. So that's going to be really interesting too. Like there's not going to be like congregating, hanging out. I don't know. I typically like, especially like the last half of 100, a strategy that works really well for me is to just like grab a chair and have a seat for like 5 minutes. Just calm down, just rest the legs a little bit. I know a lot of people say, like beware of the chair, like never sit down, things like that. Like, I don't know. I don't subscribe to that. I try not to early on in the race. And usually usually I don't even want to until like, 40 or 50 miles in. But yeah, sometimes I'll just grab a chair, have a few bites to eat or something, and then drink something, make sure that I can kind of settle my stomach and then get on my way. But I don't know how possible that's going to be. I assume towards the end of the race, they're like the last 30 or 40 miles, like they're going to have chairs for people to sit down, or maybe like, I don't know, blankets for people to lay down if they're really struggling. But it's also going to be cold. So yeah, I'm trying to visualize a race where I don't really get anything I need from an aid station. So my drop bags, I'll just have to put, quite a bit of extra, like snacks and stuff in there probably. Not a lot, but like, I don't know, probably just more than normal. Like normally in my drop bags, I'll just put like extra gels and stuff. But I'll probably put some extra actual food in there. So we'll see. But yeah, you're also going to have to wear a mask whenever you approach an aid station and when you're around other people, which is good. So I think pretty much everyone will wear like a buff. That's kind of what I picture happening. And then people just pull it up, but we'll see. St. Michael Hike says, I noticed how much time you spend in the aid stations. I have probably cost myself some more time in races by skipping aid stations or getting in and out as quickly as possible. Thoughts for racing? Yeah, good observation. For me, like at least in this run on Friday, the 50 miler that I just did, I just wanted to make sure that I was good. And so I did spend more time than I would have in a typical 50 miler. Typical 50 miler, I would have been like I wouldn't have even sat down probably at 30 miles. 40, probably not either. Honestly, I don't think maybe if I was really hurting. But really in a 50 miler, like an actual race, like I would try and get through aid stations a lot quicker than that. But I was looking at this as, okay, I'm out on my own, 100% by myself. If something happens to me out there and I have to walk back to the car and it takes 2 hours to walk back while I'm dehydrated or bonking or whatever, I just did not want that to happen. So I knew that the extra over the course of the day, like the extra 30 or whatever minutes of sitting a couple times, wasn't going to hurt me at all. So ended up being fine. It worked out. I enjoyed sitting there. The breeze was nice. Drank some Gatorade. But yeah, especially in 100 milers and then definitely 200 milers. That's one thing I learned, that if you feel like you need some time at an aid station, just take it. Most of us that are here tonight are probably not at the front of the race. So taking an extra 5 minutes to, chill out at an aid station is not going to be a big deal. And it could help you down the road. Just settle yourself, calm down, let your, get some fluids in, get some food in. So could probably help. Mike says, gotta love solo self-supported runs. You have to be comfortable being alone. No escaping your own thoughts. Listening from Essexville, Michigan. Nice. Yeah. And yeah, your own thoughts. Like that's one thing that can, definitely, that can be hard. Let's see. Will W says, by the way, I really enjoyed the sunrise to sundown dynamic of the 50 miler video. Yes. That's nice. Yeah, that was really cool how it worked out. It was fun. I wish I could have finished a little bit earlier, but whatever. It made for a good video. Plot says, I was stalking your Strava, anxiously waiting to see how you did on your 50 miler. Nice. That's awesome. Ultra Dad says, few minutes late. What's the training look like between now and No Business 100? Congrats again on the 50. What's up, man? Thanks for joining. Yeah, so training between now and No Business 100. I just kind of plotted out my next week. I'll show you guys. Actually, I did like kind of the next 2 weeks. pull us up here. So yesterday was like just 3. Actually, so the day after, I felt fine. Like I did 5 miles the day after. 3 on Sunday, 3 on Monday, and then today I did 5. I'm gonna start kind of just like doing, my normal weekday runs again, 6-7 miles, and then this weekend shooting for a 20 on Saturday, and then I'm gonna try and get like 4,000 or 5,000 feet of vertical on Sunday, because I gotta start getting some more vertical in. The only problem is the only place to really do it I have to drive to, so it makes it kind of difficult to do during the week. And then the following week, next week, will be my peak week, and I'm shooting for, just kind of like a solid, like normal type week, 7 miles, 5 miles, 6, 5, something like that. Try and get into the weekend with about 25 or 30 miles on my legs, and then Saturday and Sunday, try to do a back-to-back 25 each day. That is a plan that really I've had success with in the past. So this will be 2 weeks out from the race, and to have that be my peak right there. And the Saturday run, like do 25 miles with trying to get 4,000 or 5,000 feet of vert. So that'll be a longer day than, just a typical like 25-mile run or something. Cause I'll try and loop in like some places where I can get some climbing in. But then the tough workout will be that Saturday or the Sunday, the following day, trying to get the back-to-back 25 to get 50 in a weekend. But that, like doing a back-to-back like that can be for your body. It can be just as beneficial for your body as doing something like a 35 or 40 mile long run. And it won't have as much wear and tear. Mentally, there is definitely something to be said about getting out there and doing like an actual like ultra event, because mentally it's going to be incredibly taxing. But as far as physically, you can get by with doing like a back-to-back, like 25 milers, 20 miler even, so yeah, that's what the next like week and a half looks like. And then I'll start tapering right there. So I'll have about 9, 10, 12 days of taper, something like that. So that's what training looks like. And then probably the weekend before No Business, I'll get another day probably where I go out and get a couple thousand feet of vert. But this race, there's only 15,000 feet of vert, so I'm not terribly like scared of it. It will be like, you'll definitely feel it at the end. And if anybody out here has ever done this race, let me know. I'm going to be reaching out to my friend John, because he did this race a couple years ago. Yeah, we'll see. If anybody's done this race, contact me, because I'd love some insider information. But yeah, it's supposedly 15,000 feet of vert. So, it's not going to be like a mountain race or anything like that. But you'll definitely feel it for sure. Eric the Red says, what was your average mileage a week leading up to this? So in the last 4 weeks, I've done like 3 70-mile weeks, and then I think I had like a 55 in there, just kind of as like a little bit of a down week. But typically I average in between 50 and 60 miles a week. Chase the Summit says, I'm supposed to run a 100-miler in 2.5 weeks. I've barely trained since July, and I haven't indulged in probably too many beers. What would you recommend as a training plan? Asking for a friend. Well, I would probably say that your friend needs to start praying, because you need a lot more than just training at this point. You need... You're going to have a good time. You're going to have a great time out there. Run the flats, hike the uphills, and then just stay in the game. Like, don't take yourself out of the game. That's the whole thing. Just keep moving forward. Relentless forward progress. I think your training is pretty much done. You just need to start mentally preparing. That's what I got for you. Motivational Theory Running says, hey, how's it going? What's up? Dan Darling says, good expectations for the race. The one I just did was very lacking in what they offered, understandably, but best to be prepared. Yeah, that's kind of what I'm thinking too. I don't think that, I don't know. I like the only race that I've actually really like indulged in the food was Run Rabbit Run, and that was because they had like really good aid stations like towards the end, where they were just cooking up tons and tons of food. It was all hot, and it was just like it was amazing. And like you'd be like sitting in this valley in between these mountains out in Colorado, and like you can smell the food for like a mile, and then you get in there and you're just like, oh my gosh. And like, so I really did indulge in the food in that race. But all my other races, I don't really eat a ton at the aid stations. I try and pay attention to like my salt level. I try and pay attention to making sure that I'm getting fluids in at all the aid stations. Like I try and drink extra water. Usually I'll have like a collapsible cup that I try and get. I'll try and chug 1 or 2 cups of water, fill up my bottles, grab a few snack sort of things. Like if there's like, I like Twizzlers during races. This is so funny. It's like we're talking about running 100 milers and we just eat like candy the whole time. But that's basically what it is. But yeah, I'm not going to I'm going to try not to rely too much on the aid stations and just put as much as I can in the drop bags that I have. And then just be pleasantly surprised if the aid stations offer anything I want. So we'll see. Drew Heinlein says, considering running hallucination next year, any thoughts on what actual food is good along the way? You seemed to lose it all late. Yeah, I was hoping for a better stomach. Yeah, at Hallucination, I didn't eat anything for like the last 60 miles, so I don't really know what they offered. I honestly, in that race, I don't know how I did it. I was going really slow. But my stomach turned at about 35 miles or so, and I puked everything up and couldn't get any solid food down or gels or gummy, anything. I couldn't get anything down for the rest of the race. All I could get down was like a few sips of like I think they had Heed, which is like sort of like Gatorade. So I sipped that a little bit, but then I just filled my bottles up with water. Pretty much did the whole race on water and a few sips of Heed, the last 60 miles of that race. So I don't know what they had at the aid stations because I couldn't eat any of it. My stomach was so messed up during that race. But that's what happens when you don't train. So yeah, because I was injured. But yeah, Drew, Hallucination is a really fun race. That's really awesome. I'm excited that you signed up for that race because it is like every time it's a 16.5 mile loop, and every time you come back, it's like a music festival when you get back. It's awesome. And people are camping. It's just great. So Drew says, Chase Summit, just use Uber as your crew. Yeah, there you go. Just going to send it. Awesome. So Daniel Gibson says, I've got a 100-miler coming up in 4.5 weeks. The school I teach at is doing a walkathon 3 weeks out, so I volunteered to run literally the entire time with a goal of 40 miles that day. Nice. 3 weeks out. That's pretty good timing, actually. That will take the place of the back-to-back long runs that you suggested last week. Great job on the 50. Nice. Well, thanks. Yeah, that's a really good plan. I would say, 3 weeks out, if you do a 40, maybe, depending on depending on how fast you recover. If you recover really quick, maybe right after that 40, like push a little bit further, like push that week right after it, and then get to 2 weeks out and start recovering. If you know that you need more time to recover, 3 weeks out, a lot of people do a taper. A lot of people do 3-week tapers. I usually do about 2 weeks, but that's really good timing. Danny Pimenta says, I ran the North, is that the North Face? I don't know. TF NEC 50 milers off Crustables and Skittles. Oh yeah. Crustables are awesome. Or I don't know, like if we're talking about the same thing, it's just like peanut butter and jelly without the crust. Yeah, those are great. You can like slam a bunch of those. How awful of an idea is it to sign up for a November 1st 26K race with no structured training? I've only been running 5Ks 4 times a week so far. That's not bad. I'd sign up. I mean, I obviously don't know like how much you typically run per week or whatever, but yeah, that's good. 26K race, and you run 5Ks 4 times a week. Yeah, I think you got that, man. Sign up for it. Just have fun with it. Eduardo says, any advice for a first time 50K? Yeah, I mean, just enjoy. I would say first time, always just enjoy the race. Just get out there and have fun. I don't really think that, as a first timer, it's really beneficial to have lofty goals or even any goals really, other than just finishing. Because most people probably shoot too high. Your first 100 miler, like you always hear about, I could get that sub 24 buckle or whatever. And that'd be nice, but if it happens, it happens on your first time. But I would say like even, like a 50K, 50 miler, 100 miler, whenever you up to the next distance, first time, just go and have fun. If you are going with friends or a crew or whatever, just make a fun time out of it. But if like during this year, if you don't have a crew or something like that, just go out there and have fun being outside. Brad says, do you like Training Peaks for tracking your training? Quite different than Strava. Yeah, I like Training Peaks a lot better. That's like that's the thing I use the most. And that's where all my data goes. I just use Strava for the social side of it, and tracking shoes. Training Peaks is just like, I think it's more reliable as far as the performance management chart. I use that quite a bit. And what I'm talking about is, where'd it go? So here, if we go to the dashboard, this performance management chart, like I use this a lot. This shows your training. The blue line is basically your fitness. And so this is kind of like how I've been starting to build up over the last couple of weeks again. So I use this. It's a lot. I trust it a lot more than Strava. You can also build your own charts and everything in here, which is great. So you can see like over the last, however many, this is set up for the last 3 months. But it shows like your power zones, like how much time you spent and everything. Same thing for heart rate. It's just, I like Training Peaks a lot, and Strava is like coming around and getting some of this stuff into their ecosystem. But Training Peaks has been around for a long time, and they've been doing it really well for a long time. It's also where, if you're going to get a coach, or if you do coach, you're going to be using Training Peaks, because that's pretty much the default place for everyone to coach athletes through, or be coached. So let's see here. Joel says, preparing for my first 50 miler in a few weeks, looking to do either 25 or 10 miles or 20 and 15 miles this weekend. Do you have a preference as to which of these options is more beneficial? I would say, that's a good question. Yeah, really hard to answer. I would say, do the 20 and the 15. Because you'll probably the difference between 20 and 25 miles is going to be less than the difference of doing coming back on that second day and doing 15 quality miles rather than maybe 10 junkie miles. That would be my only thing is if you overextend yourself too much on that first 25, the 10 the following day might be just total junk miles. But if you do the 20 and you can get into that next day and you can do 15 like quality miles and like hit the like heart rate zones that you want or the power zones or pace or whatever you're shooting for. If you can have 2 quality runs, that would be a lot more beneficial than just kind of like trashing yourself and then doing junk miles the next day. Especially if you're doing a 50 miler. But yeah, I think so. Depending on how experienced you are with running ultras or long distance, I would probably go with the second option. Let's see. What is your take on discrepancy on elevation gain? I'm not sure exactly what you mean. Yeah. Let me know if that's, let me know if you, think of a way to, rephrase that. Maybe, I'm not sure exactly. If you're talking about the difference between different platforms or, like different watches, like how they measure things differently. So yeah, let me know and I'll answer because I probably have an opinion. NC says, what's your take on doing 250Ks 2 weeks apart? Awesome. Do it if you can. That's cool. No, I think it just really depends. And this is one thing that like I've realized, just as you go through your, endurance life journey. I don't know. Let's get real deep here. You grow like so much, because I can remember, and I actually want to do a video on this, like more of like a kind of like, just kind of like more of a video, just kind of like, observing, like the differences in like how your training changes because so like circling back around, like my first 50 miler that I did, I actually wanted to look in Training Peaks and see, how much time I took off afterwards. It was a lot. I think it was like a couple weeks, if not a whole month that I just like didn't even run afterwards because I thought that was the most insane thing ever. That I just ran 50 miles and I really need to let my body recover. And I really don't want to mess up my knees. I just really need to make sure that everything is back to perfect, like how it was before. And so like, I don't know exactly what I was thinking, but I took several weeks off, didn't run a single training run after my first 50 miler. And then, over time, my level of, or my understanding of, oh, what's up? Becky subscribed. Thank you so much. So over time, your kind of the way you see your threshold for what's hard and what's easy, or like what you need to kind of like recover from or not, that changes over time. And so like my first 50 miler took a couple weeks off after, didn't run a step, and then like this weekend I did a 50 miler and then the next day I ran 5 miles and like felt fine. So it's like, things change as you go. And I think that's just really, really cool. And so you asked about what I think about doing 250Ks 2 weeks apart. I say like go for it. Like if you can do it, like do it, because that could be really great for your training. But other people, 50K is their A race of the year, and everybody's just in a different place in that journey. And like some people might look at what I did this weekend and be like, oh my gosh, like I could never imagine doing that. Well, I was in that position like 5 or 6 years ago. And when I ran my first 50 miler, like I had a pacer, I had a crew, I brought 2 huge like Tupperwares full of like all the running clothes I owned, like 3 extra pairs of shoes. I don't know how many pairs of shoes I brought, but I brought probably like 50 gels. Like I brought like 50 granola bars. Like I brought just like everything that I could possibly think of, because that I thought maybe I would need something, or maybe, and that's just where I was like 4 or 5 years ago. Fast forward to now, and things just look different. And it's like, for me, it was kind of like the challenge now was to see if I could do it by myself, on, minimal everything. So we're all in different places. But I think if trying to do 250Ks 2 weeks apart excites you, and you can do it without getting injured or ruining yourself, go for it, man. So Matt Roberts says Training Peaks almost doubles elevation most of the time. Really? I don't know. I've never seen that. I guess it might depend on your watch, something like that. But vertical gain is pretty much the same across all the platforms like that I see. John Western says, I noticed in your 50-mile recap, you prefer water bottles in the front of your vest. Ever run with a bladder against your back instead? Yes, I have. I actually had a bladder. I used a bladder for Grindstone and Run Rabbit Run. And it was good, for where I was at the time. Because especially, some of those aid stations were like 8 or 10 miles apart, which doesn't like sound like a lot. But if an aid station is 10 miles, if there's 10 miles in between an aid station and like 4,000 feet of climbing in between those 2 aid stations, like it's going to take you, 5 or 6 hours, depending on where, possibly, I don't know, depending on where in the race it is. But I remember some aid stations, where I just knew, just like looking at it, like, okay, this is going to be like 5 hours in between aid stations, at like Run Rabbit Run, Grindstone. So I did have a bladder in the back. And that really helped because I had like 2 bottles up front. Like I always put like cold water if I could in the back, because that would also help cool you down. And then the front, depending on kind of where I was or what I needed, I would fill up either both with like Tailwind or whatever they had at the time, or just one, and do it like that. So yeah, I haven't done a bladder in a long time though, mainly because of the weight. And a lot of times, especially like all of the hundreds I've done like in the last year, in between aid stations, I'm not looking at more than like 2 hours max. So, I've never really felt like I needed to bring more than just the 2 bottles. So we'll see. Looking for Tyler. I'm looking if you've updated your question, but it doesn't look like it. Let's see. Pierre Alex says, hey, I'm a complete beginner, 225 pounds. Can't even run 3 kilometers and can't run 700 meters without walking. Since I'm not doing much mileage, can I run every day or I risk injury? I would say I wouldn't start running every day. I would say run every other day for a while and just do, short, like what you're saying, like 2 kilometers, 3 kilometers, something like that, until your body gets used to it. And then slowly build up. The general rule of thumb is to build no more than 10% mileage week to week. But it just depends. If you feel something coming on, what's up, Lewis? Thanks for subscribing. If you feel something coming on, don't push it. Just take a break, rest. But I would say if you're like, as you self-proclaimed, complete beginner, I would just start with every other day, 2 or 3 kilometers, and start with that. Slowly build up. Plot says, so true on the recovery. I used to have to take days off after 10 miles. Now on a heavy week, I'll do 3 or 4 times in a week. Yeah, it's crazy, isn't it? I mean, it's just really, really cool to see how the body changes over time. NC says, do you count macros? And how do you fuel your hard blocks? Nope, I don't count macros at all. I used to, like in the past, I used MyFitnessPal and I tried to track everything I ate. And it became like, I thought that I would really benefit from the data. I thought that I would be able to make changes and improve. And it just became so much work for, in my opinion, so little useful information for myself. Now, I know a lot of people get really good information out of it, but for myself, I just didn't feel like I was getting enough out of it for the amount of work it took to track everything. So I haven't tracked macros in years. During a race or during a long run, I count calories and that's it. Like I'll try and get, and this is interesting. There was actually a couple comments about how little I was eating during this self-supported 50 miler. And it got me thinking, because I was like, I don't know, like maybe, is that true? But I have had, I would say, like, for someone my age, like quite a bit of experience with trying out different fueling strategies for myself, coming from triathlon and Ironman, getting into trail running after that, and ultra running after that. Like in my triathlon Ironman days, like for, Olympic triathlons, like, I mean, hardly fuel anything for like a 2-hour race, but, like 2 or 3 gels or something, and some Gatorade in a water bottle, up to Ironman, where it's like super important to count your calories, because I mean, if you guys haven't ever done Ironman, like it's just night and day different than an ultra, night and day different. Like, I mean, you have to be so precise in an Ironman, because like when you come off that bike, like you got to run a full marathon, and it might not sound like a lot when we're talking about 100 milers here, but the stress that your body goes through and the level of intensity that you're doing it at. I mean, most of the time you're racing Ironman at zone 3, zone 4, like as much as you can. And so you're burning through calories. You're burning through carbs a lot. Like for Ironman, I think I average like 275, somewhere to like 300 calories per hour. And that was like spot on, like exactly what I needed, because I was zone 3, zone 4, like the whole time for like 11 hours. As you can see, this run, I was solid zone 1, the whole 11 hours. So very, very different. The reason why, I mean, if you did an Ironman in zone 1, it would take you 18 hours, because it's just, like you have to go quicker than that. When you're running, there's so much wear and tear on your body. Like, you have to go a little bit slower. So totally different sports. But I would say that I do have experience testing out like different levels of energy consumption. And for me with ultra running, it seems like my gut can process, and it feels like I'm replenishing enough when I'm somewhere in between the 100 to 150, pushing maybe 200 calories an hour, if I'm adding in a lot of like sports drink or something. Yeah, I mean, if I was getting in 90 calories and with gels every 40 minutes. So, any engineers or math majors out there can tell me what that would be per hour, on the spot. What would that be, like somewhere in between like 120 calories per hour, something like that, in gels. And then you factor in like the Gatorade that I was drinking every 2 hours. So you probably like an extra 100 calories per hour. So it's probably somewhere in between like 120 on a low hour up to possibly 200 on a higher calorie hour. And that seems to work for what I need. But maybe I could push that a little bit farther. Maybe I could go a little bit more for a 50 miler. I actually think I'm going to pull it back a little bit for 100 in a couple weeks, because I think that especially when I'm walking a lot or hiking, I just don't think I need that many calories. But I don't know. We'll see. Gosh, what is going on with my... I don't know if that's doing that for you when the screen blacks out or not, but something's going on. Maybe it's one of my USB cables or HDMI cables or something. Let's see. A couple more questions. We're a little over an hour now. So let's see. Mandy says, is it possible to lose weight while training for ultras? Because I feel like I'm hungry so often to fuel all the energy I'm putting out. Yeah, I mean, that's hard. I don't, like losing weight is, it's very, very hard for a lot of people. So I don't want to like discredit like the journey that everyone's on, but it's actually a very simple, like mathematical thing to do. You just have to consume less calories than you're putting out. So if you can figure that out, it's very hard to do because your body just doesn't like that. But you basically need to just put yourself in a calorie deficit for an extended period of time to lose weight. For someone who's in sports, for someone who is, training to run ultra marathons, triathlons, marathons, anything like that, it's not really advised to put yourself in a calorie deficient state for very long. So typically, if you're losing a bit of weight while you're training, if it's a small amount, it's not a problem. If you find yourself losing a lot of weight, it's probably a problem, and you're probably not performing as well as you could in your sport. A lot of smart people, the advice that they would give you is to say, if you need to lose weight, try and lose weight in the off season, which is when most people want to eat all the cake. But if you are trying to lose weight during your season, you're probably sacrificing a lot of performance. So it's hard to do. It's really, really hard to do. Will says, can you talk about pacing discipline required for 50 miler or more? Marathon runner here who sometimes trains with MAF. Seems like ultras are on another level. Yeah. So pacing discipline, it's really hard. That's really hard to come from marathons into ultras because your marathon, you're kind of like pushing your limit the whole time. Most people. And for ultras, you really got to hang back. And you really have to, until you're really experienced, I would say, until you really know what you're going to go through, until you've got a bunch of 50 milers behind you or a bunch of hundreds, I think it would really be advised to push the pace early on. Most of the time, You just want to kind of feel it out. And if you feel like you're going too hard, you probably are. You're going to pay for it later. So MAF is really good. And I would say like my MAF is, I'm 35. So was that 180 minus 35, 145 beats a minute, would be my MAF heart rate. And I was well below that. I was probably averaging 135 for this 50 miler, by myself. Had it been a real race, I probably would have been higher, closer to 140, maybe 145 average would probably have been too high. I've gotten myself into trouble before with my gut, running, too fast, because in order to average like, MAF heart rate, there's going to be times where you're above, times when you're below. And for that long of a period, like, my gut just doesn't like me being, in zone 2, zone 3 for that long, in a ultra. So it just depends. But I would say, pacing discipline is really hard. It really helps if you do a course that has a lot of climbing, because then it's going to slow you down. But you just got to not push too hard, on the uphills. But yeah, I mean, the thing that a lot of people don't think about is that most ultras are ran on trails, and trails are like typically much slower than most people typically run trails much slower than they run roads. So the pace might end up working out, for you. But yeah, if you're a marathon runner and you've got a lot of experience with marathons, jump into a 50K, and those last like 6-7 miles will, be interesting for you. But then do a 50 miler, and then all of a sudden you're on your way. Joel says, thanks for the feedback for the weekend run. Also great job on the 50 mile. Thanks, man. Eric the Reds, thanks for sharing your experience, Ryan. Need to sleep for a run. That's right. I need to get to bed too. So I'm going to start wrapping this up. Platt says, do you still use a sonic massage gun? Thinking about one or something similar to aid in recovery. Yeah, I do. I was actually just using that, the other day. Just kind of using it on my, hip and glute a little bit. Just trying to loosen those up. I really like it. It's definitely something that is, it comes after I've already done, like my foam rolling, because I just think that, foam rolling, is just really, really good to do. And it's really cheap. You don't even actually need, like, you can buy like a $10 foam roller at Walmart or something. You don't need one of the fancy ones, but whatever. So it's super cheap to get into. And I would say if you already have that and you like it, and you want something that's a little bit more fun or whatever. But yeah, the sonic massage gun that I have, it's got a bunch of different tips on it, so you can like kind of customize, how it works, and it's really great. Like it really is. Like I've had some times where certain things just weren't loosening up, and it can really like just dig into the right spot, and you can just hold it there, and it doesn't take hardly any work. Like rolling your leg out or something on a foam roller does take a little bit of work. But yeah, I would recommend it. The Sonic is a good one. The battery is incredible on it. Like, I don't know what batteries on other massage guns are like, but this one I hardly ever have to charge it. So, all right. Well, I think that's a good place to wrap it up. Thank you all for joining. There's a bunch of people all night, so thank you. Oh, one more comment. Mandy says, I use a rolling pin for massage. Make sure you clean it before you use it for baking. Yes. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, that's the other thing. Just go to the grocery store or whatever and get a rolling pin. That works really well. So I've got, one that I got off Amazon called Tiger Tail. It's like $20 or something, but it's like an actual one that's, made for rolling out, your muscles. But yeah, let's see. Oh, one more we'll see one more. Lanny says, would you do a 50K or more on a road? Thinking of an unsupported run here at home on the track and road. 50K on a road, that would, I might do something like that. It would be like, I've done marathons on roads, which has been, fine, whatever. A lot of people do that. But once you start getting into ultras on roads, that starts to get pretty hard on your body. So I'd make sure you have some decent shoes, like maybe change shoes halfway or something, to just change up the muscle groups, because all that repetitive pounding on those joints and muscles, is going to really it's going to really wear you out, pretty quick. And that'd be pretty tough, but yeah, go for it. Let me know how it goes. But all right, here, we are wrapping up here. So thank you guys so much for joining. This was a fun one. If you have not seen, the 50-mile video yet, go ahead and watch that. Let me know what you think. I've been and I wanted to say this, I don't know if I said this at the top, but I should have whenever, we started this, but I've just been so overwhelmed by how awesome you guys have been, just in the comments and everything. It's just so encouraging seeing, everybody that's commented. I mean, this is I cannot keep up with the comments. I've read them all. I promise I've read them all. But I have not been able to respond to all of them because they're just coming in, so many of them. Just, it's so encouraging from this last video. So thank you guys so much. 3.5 weeks till No Business 100. We're actually doing a race this year. I can't believe it. But thank you everyone for joining. I will see you again next week. So stay safe, get out there and run, and we'll meet back up here in a week or so. All right. See ya.